let's go back to the 90s, the original versions of the internet. So you have Dan, me and you were in a little bit more hacker world, some BBSs, IRC channels, stuff like that. But your average, the average group on the internet was maybe some CompuServe, maybe AOL, local ISP. They found some websites, maybe a forum or two. The social interactions in those spaces were raw. You knew those guys in the IRC channel. You knew this guy likes Nine Inch Nails and this guy likes, whatever. You knew that. So it was very sort of raw interaction, not a lot of video and pictures. And then as we moved into the early 2000s, we saw some of the Yahoo stuff, Yahoo Games, chat rooms, stuff, those sorts of places where people went to. You want to talk about, I'd love to see a documentary on the collapse internally of Yahoo, because you want to talk about a group that had the whole internet, like their claws in everything, and then they just lost it all. That's a great example. But we started to see the rise of things like MySpace. We moved from sort of the forum world and things of MySpace. Again, a raw world. People were blasting music as soon as you got on the profile. They were being kind of wild. You had to pick your top 8 friends. I mean, think of sort of the intimate behavior there. And then as Facebook and Twitter and that kind of stuff came along, what we saw is a polishing of the internet profile. If I went to someone's MySpace profile or their or just talk to them in a channel, it was pretty raw. It was pretty realistic on who they were. And Facebook and Instagram came along. And I remember Zuckerberg was made fun of for buying Instagram for $1 a user when he bought it. And I think it was, I don't remember how many million it was, but it was everybody thought it was crazy. And now look at him, look who's laughing.
And YouTube was also, when Google bought YouTube, they were like 1.4 billion, and now they make like something like 1.4 billion every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, every 5 seconds. Yeah. But YouTube really started to hit that stride around the same time, 2011, 2010, that time frame. So you started to see this polishing of social media presence. Here's my beautiful kids. Here's my beautiful. Here's my
the world
beautiful
is a
Instagram.
happy place.
Yeah. And it moved away from this raw aspect of sort of online interaction. So children today, I've got children. I know Dan, I know you've got kids, and Nico too. These kids are being raised in this world where this is what is cool for mom and dad. And we all know that, Dan, I especially know our history. Being kids, our parents were zero cool, like not cool. Anything they were doing was the opposite of cool, like the worst thing, the last thing you wanted to do. And so they're growing up in this world with that beautiful image of themselves, sort of just something they hate. And so Facebook, Instagram, and all that, they're in the same position that Yahoo was, I think, in the early days as things evolved to the more polished stuff. But I think it's a cycle, and you can see it. Be Real has gained 50 million users. I think it's like in 4 months or something like that.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And now I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, it's all raw and totally real, but it has that aspect to it. It has this raw, more personal connection to it. And then you bring into the stuff you were talking about earlier, Dan, where you said censorship. I know if you go on 4chan and you look at a post, you will see every kind of crazy thing in the world. You go on Facebook and you'll never see that. And so the groups that want to say that stuff are not going to ever go back to Facebook. They're never going to go back to platforms like that. Maybe their kids will. As time
I think
goes, but
I don't think it's necessarily that super nerdy internet guy in the basement on 4chan. It's like grandparents. They don't like it when they're like direct messages are like redacted when they share a link about something they want to talk to their friends about. Like,
no one wants to be moderated, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to be moderated
because everybody's right all the time.
Right, but it's still like I hear my wife's parents, they're in their 70s, just super pissed off about the fact that somebody's moderating anything, even on direct messages to their friends. Where's that line? But
well, anyway. But that's what's killing Facebook. Do I think that they will be able to pull off the metaverse? I don't think they will. Sort of that AR VR space. Someone will do it. I'm going to throw my money on Apple, probably providing at least the lens for it. But that's a few years out. But right now, I think they're just they unless they buy Be Real and they just constantly suck up these companies. I think that they're the old guard. They're the Oldsmobile in GM's portfolio. It's just it's something kids aren't interested in. And I think the driving success of all social media comes from kids. Facebook was college, Instagram was the same thing. Be Real is all high school students entirely. In fact, I say it now and most people don't know what it is. The kids do though. They know exactly what it is. And so I think we're moving into a space where things are going to be a little more raw and are going to split up a little bit. It'll probably expand and collapse as time goes, but as they have kids, it'll probably loop. It'll be this continual looping pattern.